ruin their emotional health in the process. And you can avoid that if you are as motivated about your mental health as you are about your business.
I love that about creating solutions, solving problems, which is a big space of all of these VIPs on this part of the program, who do that every day in their USANA businesses. They're about presenting really great health direction for people in their lives and their businesses. Here's a great question from Taiwan.
亲爱的 Shetty 你好，我是来自台湾的荣誉执行6星钻石董事龚静纯，谢谢你出版了这本书，受益良多。我今天有一个问题想请教你，如何引导伙伴放下自我局限的框架，发挥潜能，善用时间？谢谢。
Thank you so much for reading my book. It means the world to me. I really, really appreciate it. When it comes to your partners realizing their potential, and when it comes to your partners understanding how to make progress, you do it by introducing them to the people, the places, and the ideas that motivate them. Our partners, our colleagues, our friends are not going to be motivated necessarily by the same things that we watch or the same things that we read. They might be, but they might not be also. And the best leaders are able to connect people with what connects with them. So often we try to connect people with what connects with us. And we should try that. But if that doesn't work, we shouldn't lose hope. There are so many different paths people can take. The best thing is to understand someone's needs, interests, and concerns. And when you deeply understand their psychology, you can introduce them to the ideators, the thinkers that help them understand the message. Often I'll ask the same question to every single one of my podcast guests. I'll literally ask them the same question. The reason I do that is because sometimes you need to hear a different answer to the same question from different people for the point to register and for it to hit. So some people may need to hear it from a CEO, some people may need to hear it from an actor, some people may need to hear it from a musician or an author or a thought leader. The point is we all need to hear messages from different faces, different voices. And as a leader, your role is to understand who your partner, your colleague, your friend, your husband, your wife, whoever it may be, who they'll be inspired by.
Thank you, mate. We've got, we are bumping around all over the Asia Pacific at the moment.
Amazing.
So a fun question from Joy and Kevin in Thailand.
Hi, Mr. Shetty. I'm Kevin.
I'm Joy from Thailand.
The questions that we would like to ask you is, in this fast-changing, competitive, and challenging world, if you could have 3 wishes, what would they be? Thank you.
Wow. Wow, Kevin and Joy, that's an amazing question. What would be my wishes? I think my first wish would be that each and every person realized their passion and their potential and lived according to their purpose. That they stopped wasting time trying to compete with everyone else. They stopped wasting time trying to be like everyone else. And they were just themselves. Because I think that's what the world needs, more people who are living in their purpose and aligned with their passion and their strength. So that would be my first wish. The second wish that I would have is that everyone acted only for the benefit of other people. That businesses were started to serve others, that our intention was always to help others. Everyone in the world was trying to help someone. How quickly we would eradicate so many of the issues and challenges that we see in the world today. So that would be my second wish. And my third wish would be that people, even if they couldn't see eye to eye, even if they couldn't completely love each other, which would be an amazing wish, my wish would be that people would learn to respect each other, that we would learn to accept and acknowledge our differences, that we would learn to recognize that difference doesn't mean better or worse. If we were able to do that and accept the beautiful diversity of this world, then I think those would be 3 really special wishes.
Wonderful, mate. I think we're speaking, you and I were speaking the other day, and there's a 4th wish for you to have a surfing lesson. Which I'm very happy to give you that when you make it here.
Absolutely.
to Bondi in Australia. That'll be fun. Hey, Sharon from Singapore has the next question.
Hi Jay, my name is Sharon and I'm so stoked to be given a chance to do this. I've been a long time fan of yours. And today, a question in my mind that I would like to ask would be, how do you get into the best version of yourself every single day and to overcome negative thoughts that come your way during the day? Looking forward to your sharing. Thank you.
Sharon, that's a great question. And the answer is a technique that I call spot, stop, swap. And so how this works is we have a certain dialogue, an inner dialogue in our mind that says certain things every day that can be negative. So things like, you're not good enough. Things like, oh, look at what he or she's doing. Things like, oh, you're not smart enough. You don't have this down. You don't understand this, right? We all have this negative, critical inner talk. So the first thing we have to do is we have to spot, where does that happen? When does it happen? How does it happen? What are we doing when it happens? You may find that when you're scrolling on social media, that's when you're feeling the most envious or jealous. You may find that when you're reading the news, that's when you feel the most negativity. The first thing you have to do is spot, where do those negative thoughts come from? What are you doing that triggers those negative thoughts? The second thing you want to do is stop. You don't want to continue that pattern. You want to stop and accept yourself. I notice this pattern. I see where it's coming from. I don't want to continue this. If you don't have that moment of pause, if you don't have that moment of reflection, the pattern just continues. You have to break the pattern. And we break the pattern when we allow ourselves to pause, reflect, and stop and say, I'm ready to break this pattern. You have to actually admit it to yourself, because otherwise the patterns just continue one after the other. And the third and final step is to swap. You want to swap that inner critic, that negative self-talk, for self-esteem talk. You want to switch that. For not I am good enough and lying to yourself, but saying, oh, I'll be good enough when I build that skill. Oh, if I learn that, then I'll be able to take on this challenge. So you want to switch that for coaching and guiding yourself. So next time you have a negative self-talk or a negative thought, I want you to focus on spot, stop, swap.
Love that, coaching and guiding yourself. That's a skill that's worth working on. Mr. from Korea has a question I think many of us could benefit from your answer.
안녕하세요. 유산한 코리아 빌더 송미숙입니다. 저는 집 밖에 사는 사람들에게 너무나 친절한데 집에만 오면 가족이 가장 편하다는 이유로 해서는 안 될 말들로 상처를 주곤 합니다. 한결같은 모습과 평정심을 유지하려면 어떻게 하는 게 좋을까요?
This is a wonderful question. It's hard, isn't it? We're always tough on the people that are closest to us. And I often talk about this, how sometimes it's the people that you love the most that you don't treat with that same level of respect and others. And it's very easy because you know they love you and they'll get on with it and they'll move on and they'll still love you. I've made that mistake many times. I still make that mistake. It's something we all go through. So thank you, Mr. for asking that question. I think the thing that I always remember is realizing that you don't know when the last time you speak to someone is. I think that's the only way to truly give your mind perspective and to deal with everyone with the love and the kindness, knowing that if that was the last time you spoke to them, how much love you'd feel with it, how much joy you'd bring to that moment, how much amazing energy you'd bring to that day. And when you deal with your loved ones in that way, you always live a life of no regrets. You allow yourself to live a really fulfilling life because you know that you're saying exactly what you feel. You know that that person knows that you love them, and that starts building a really beautiful bond. So that's the number one technique that I've used in that space.
That's so cool, man. Thank you. I can't believe we're almost at the end of our time. We've got just a few minutes. I wanted to just get to a couple of live chat from Leo from Indonesia is asking about anxiety. What is a simple practice that can help us calm down when we start to feel anxiety ramping up? I'm going to ask you for some short, sharp responses. That'd be great.
Yeah, there's a method and technique that psychologists use called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can taste, And 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can taste, and 1 thing you can smell. When you do that, you get grounded into the present moment again. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. You can Google it, and you'll find the answer.
Awesome. Thank you. Carol, one of our distributors from Hong Kong, asks, in your book, you talk about not judging the moment. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is don't label a moment as good or bad, because then you stop it from growing into something else. If something good happens, you go, oh my God, this is the best thing that ever happened. And then if it goes, we're like, oh no, that's the worst thing that ever happened. And so we label moments, or like if something bad happens, we're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing. But actually that could turn into a blessing. So gifts can turn into curses, and curses can turn into gifts. And if you don't label the moment, you just allow it to be, you allow a moment to become better than it could have ever been. So that's what it means to not judge the moment.
Thank you. And our very last question for today is from Carmen in Malaysia. She'd like to know, what are the biggest things we tend to get wrong about relationships?
So the number one is we think that relationships are about enjoyment, but actually they're about education, and the enjoyment is in the education. So relationships are there to teach us something. They're there for us to grow. They're there for us to learn. They're not just there for us to have fun. The fun is in the learning. The fun happens when you grow. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes we make in relationships. Another huge mistake we make in relationships is that we think our way is the right way. The truth is, our way is just one way. And our parents, the way they've raised us, and our upbringing forms our beliefs and values. And the person that we're in a relationship with has their own beliefs and backgrounds and values. And so there's just a clash of 2 different upbringings. We find it strange when 2 minds don't match, but it actually makes more sense that 2 minds with 2 different backgrounds, with 2 different sets of parents, with 2 different walks of life, with 2 different schools, it's likely that they won't match. And so recognizing that your way isn't the right way, your way is just another way, is a really, really helpful thing, and a mistake that we often make in relationships.
Thank you, mate. I wish we could just keep going and going and going, but our time's up. I want to thank everyone for their very insightful questions. And Jay, this was an exhilarating mental marathon. I just want to thank you so much for being here and now officially part of our USANA family.
Thank you so much, David. I'm so happy to be part of the family. It means the world to me. And thank you for those phenomenal questions. It was amazing to answer them from all over the world and hear all of you speak your beautiful languages as well. It was truly special. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks for being with us. We look forward to having you join us live next time. We'll be able to organise that on stage somewhere around the world. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you.
Stick around, everyone. Our Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Rob Sinnott, is taking you behind the scenes to the Research and Development Lab for a sneak peek at USANA's future. But for me, it's bye for now.
This has been a VIP access session. Thanks for watching and supporting the USANA Foundation.